Hi folks, you're with Tacitus today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this audio live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about the standards of the Senate and congressional and House committees in the United States, and or more to the point, the standard of the witnesses, the supposed expert witnesses that they're calling. Now, I don't know how these witnesses are selected, or are these committees determined to bring in witnesses that know nothing and have an IQ of 80? Is that the determination? It seems that way. Now, other than the sort of bigger headline type committees on, say, I don't know, big ticket defence items or something like that, there are a plethora of smaller committees or lesser committees talking about all sorts of things, such as, I don't know, the quality of water in the rivers of the Mississippi Basin or something. Not that isn't important in its way or for the local people there, but it's not a big international headline type item. So, and there are again, a gazillion committees that are covering this sort of thing. Now, there was one that's came up in my feed as I was going through, so I clicked on it, and because they had this sort of picture of what looked like an intellectually challenged young black woman who was on. I thought, is that the senator, or was that who's that? And it turns out a supposed expert witness. Now, the expert witness was just a placard waving, ideological fanatic, and who knew nothing, had no understanding of the issues, just had a talking points type training. And so I thought, why would you get someone like that at the committee? I mean, do you invite a certain group and then they select the people that they're going to send? Do you actually invite certain people that to be experts to come and give commentary? And there appeared amongst all the people who were giving giving evidence or providing information to the committee that none of these people knew anything. They were just all ideologues. Again, they just stuck rigidly to the talking points that they themselves didn't understand. So they wouldn't, in any sense of the word, they wouldn't qualify as expert witnesses. So what the fuck were they doing there? Again, how did they come to be invited, and so on? So I don't know who does the selecting on this, but it needs to get some review. I mean, for example, let's suppose I was an elected politician who was concerned about, I don't know, recycling of trash in the state of Louisiana, or whatever. So I'd sort of, as a committed member of the I've been elected by the public to do a job, so I'd be wanting to discharge those duties diligently and conscientiously. So I would want to get the foremost experts in the area, assuming there was some controversy or contention relating to policy development or formulation. I'd want to get the foremost experts in the area to come and give evidence. Now we don't really need them, because it's all political theatre as much as anything when these committees take place. But maybe the real experts have already sent in written dissertations on what should or could be done, or what the cost of this or that would be, or the benefit of doing X over Y and that sort of thing. So maybe that's already really taken care of without outside of the glare of the public light. But these committees, nonetheless, are they just the dregs? The committee has already got the information they want, and they just want to play around with a little bit of theatre for the good of the cameras. It's a bit hard to say. I suspect there's a bit of that in it. Now, they invite certain, as I understand it, I've had a bit of a look, they invite certain organisations to come along. Organisations I probably wouldn't invite, as I don't think they've got anything to contribute, but they may be activist organisations that are opposed to this or that, and they placard wave in the street, and there's an idea that it appears democratic to give them a seat at the discussion table so they can put forward their point of view. And I get that as well. But again, that comes back to political theatre and imagery and so on. So they invite these activist organisations, and the activist organisations, of course, want to appear woke, so they send every black lesbian they can lay their hands on who may actually know nothing about the issue at all, and it seems to be the case. So anyway, there was a bunch of young black women at one thing, and the young were overrepresented heavily, women were overrepresented heavily, and black people were overrepresented heavily. So that just didn't sit right with me. So I listened to their responses, and they're all as dumb as shit. I mean, seriously, you wouldn't invite these people in just to sweep the floor. They'd fuck it up. They're too stupid. So anyway, well, why would they send those people? But when you look at them, they're created poster children by the globalist NGO activist machine. So these low IQ black women have all been, it's all like they're cloned. You could be looking at an episode of the X-Files or something from the 1990s. They all look like they're cloned creatures. So they're all from poorer areas of the black part of town. They all went to ordinary high schools. Then around middle high school, early senior high school, suddenly they were discovered. Suddenly they're getting these ordinary students that are, they wouldn't even have made it into senior high school. Suddenly they're getting awards and scholarships, and they're being invited to speak at various activist events. Suddenly they're working as interns at NGOs, activist NGOs. Then they're going to college, and then they're getting a degree in something obscure. I don't know, I did a degree in trash management or something, and then they get a master's, and then they're studying a PhD, and again, scholarships are being handed out to them, and they're obviously not passing these things because whatever intellectual rigor may or may not exist in those bullshit courses, it's certainly not applied to these students. They want poster children, and then they're getting supposedly they're writing columns for activists, Huffington Post type, Guardian, and so on. They're writing columns for that. And if you listen to them talk and look at what they're supposed to have written, they're not the same person. They're not writing that, and they don't have the ability to put together something like that. So it's being ghostwritten for them, and then they're being invited to speak at international events, United Nations events, and they're on the undercard of a Greta Thunberg's, and so on and so forth. So you can see how they're created poster children. They're not. They wouldn't be there without the globalist machine creating and inventing them and putting them out front. And then so when the Senate committee or the House committee invites activist group A to come along and give evidence, they then, of course, grab their low IQ activists and stick them out front for the theatre of it all. And maybe it's good experience for them in the future for creating an activist class of zombies to go out and wreak destruction upon the Western world. But this is but the comparison that I made, I'm aghast at. Are there that many dumb people in the world? I mean, I guess there must be, and that they find themselves on giving evidence to a Senate committee. Fuck. But I compared this with, going back, and it's not that many that were recorded, but go back to the same sort of committee talking about, that type of thing at that level, the lesser committees talking, say, in the 1950s and 1960s. The people that were brought to the committees were really quite articulate. They clearly had an above average IQ, and they clearly had a rigorous education of sorts, and they clearly were concerned citizens. They were concerned about they weren't concerned about ideological issues that defied all known reality. They were concerned about how to make the world a better place, but in a very practical sense. And that's sort of detaches them. They're completely different from sort of activists today, which is pursuing some vague ideological agenda on the basis of they say it's better but can't explain how. They can't explain the benefit that it'll bring to the community or society or to the world. They just say, that's bad, you have to stop, but without any reference to any known framework of reality. And so there's a stark difference between the sort of people that were coming before these committees in the 1950s and the sort of things they were saying and how they were saying it and how they were expressing the ideas, but how when they said this in the 1950s, say, well, this is why it's going to be better. This is how it will help, and not how. Well, what we have to do is stop all food production, and then that will stop greenhouse gas, and then the world will be safe. So, what are people going to eat? Oh, Hitler! And this is the difference between the two. But I was surprised at how totally fucking done these people were. I was staggered. Where would you? How did you even find that many stupid people? And then you bring them in front of a Senate committee, for goodness sakes. You've been with Tacitus today, your Pushback channel. Thank you for listening.